Yes, man. Welcome back to the show. Siren is a sign of crisis. Playing right here at Reggae Iration. Link with us across all platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. The number inakuwa hapo chini. Tuambie uko law from which county, represent your hood, Peter na crew yako yote, and tokona ku big up to the fullest. The moment is right here, and as I told you at the beginning of the show, we'll be having live interview from New York, representing right here Taj Weeks. Greetings, Taj Weeks.
Yeah, man, give thanks for having me. I'm really truly happy to be here. I have to apologize for the little zitch in the time zones, but I am really appreciative that you're having me. So yeah, man, give thanks.
Give thanks once more. I'm glad you could join us this afternoon. So before we go into this track that we've just played, Crisis, Taj Weeks, for those who don't know you, maybe you could introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, and just how this musical journey has been for you.
Well, yeah, my name is Taj Weeks, and I am from St. Lucia. It's a little island in the Caribbean, south of Jamaica, okay, and Trinidad, between Martinique and Barbados.
Okay.
We have a population of 180,000 people. Mm-hmm. We speak English, okay, but we speak a French patois, because St. Lucia was fought over 14 times.
Okay.
7 times the British one and 7 times the French one. Mm-hmm. So yeah, so we speak both languages, yeah.
Okay. So just going deep into this first track that we played in, it's called Crisis, and there's a word you've just described there. Siren is a sign of crisis. Talking about this track, it's just a great description of how the times that we are living in right now, the pandemic times. So what impact did COVID, or has COVID have on you and just some of the projects that you are working on, and how have you learned to cope up during this crisis time?
Well, I mean, I think as human beings, we're wired to move forward. You know, regardless of what the crisis is, we tend to move forward.
Okay.
The pandemic has been, for musicians like myself, since our lifeblood is live music, okay, touring, it slowed that down.
Okay.
You know, but from an artistic point of view, you could do one or two things. Mm-hmm. You can either bury your head in the sand or write music.
Okay.
So I wrote 3 albums during the pandemic, and the song that you just said, Crisis, was on the first album called Pause. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, music, the pandemic time for me was the most significant years of my life as a musician, because it was the first time for me that music had stopped.
Okay.
You know, I could not have possibly imagined not making music and everybody going silent. Mm-hmm. But that's what happened. But as musicians, this is what we do. You know, we tell the story of the day. Okay. And that's what I did with the album, told the story of the day.
Okay. Things right here in Kenya, things have really opened up. We had curfew, which was lifted, and right now we are operating 24 hours. I don't know how New York is, and just many of the event organizers were implementing virtual concerts. What has been your thought about the virtual concert? Is there a future for it? And just what do you think about it in general?
I mean, I think it will find its place, mm-hmm, but it will not be the main source of music, because it's people's nature to want to gather. Mm-hmm. It's our nature to want to hug and touch each other.
Okay.
So, you know, we will go past that time, mm-hmm, but there will still be a few of them in the end. You know, but I mean, we love, you know, you live, when you play music live, mm-hmm, you live off the energy of the people who are watching you, mm-hmm, and the people who are you're surrounded by you on stage. Mm-hmm. So they can never be the same level of enthusiasm doing a virtual concert as being there live with the people.
Mm-hmm. Is New York opening right now?
New York is open. There come some restrictions, but New York is open. Mm-hmm. Well, the place where I'm from, St. Lucia, okay, we're open as well, mm-hmm, but we have curfew. Mm-hmm. You know, and curfew is being lifted, and people are being very careful when the holidays are coming up that they don't mingle. But I have to tell you, I was just out in Ghana, mm-hmm, and the issue in Ghana is completely different than it is in America.
Okay.
You know, Ghana was free in my estimation. Mm-hmm. You know, COVID was basically non-existent to me. I mean, people were walking around without masks. Everybody was healthy. The numbers were very low. Uh-huh. So the story for me in Ghana was completely different, all right, from the story that exists in New York.
Mm-hmm. Talking about, you just mentioned your album called Pause, and I understand this is your 7th studio album from way back when you started with Hope and Doubt. What was the main inspiration behind the naming of the word pause? And just describe for me the whole creative process that was involved in making sure that this project came to fruition.
Well, pause came about because I was forced to take a pause. And I think all musicians and everybody was forced to take some kind of a pause during that time of the pandemic. So for me, it was a time of reflection. And I had just gotten off our last show. We headlined the Montana Folk Festival, and we came home, and that the pandemic hit. So what we did was, since music is what we do, I started reaching out to other musicians and sending them ideas, people from different countries and different places in different time zones.
Yes, ma'am.
And we just started vibing off one another, I reached out to a really good brother of mine, Ziggy Coltrane, told him what I was trying to do. The first song I wrote on pause was a song called Bang Bang. I sent that out to him with the ideas on my acoustic guitar, and he sent me back a couple ideas, and then we started working like this.
Okay.
So we ended up making the album on Zoom. Everybody on the album had a home studio.
Yeah.
So we would send it up to them, tell them what we were thinking of, listen to their ideas on Zoom, and that's kind of how we made the album.
And I just think how great it is that you have mentioned all this was organized through Zoom, and it's time that we appreciate the virtual reality and just how some of the advantage that it has brought to us. Now, talking about you are in Ghana, and there's a collaboration with an artist from Ghana in this album, and also you've just worked with a variety of people like Daddy Lion was featured in a track called Rainstorm. We have Sydney, we have Mackenzie, just many people you've brought into combination to make sure that the team that is working on this album is the right. Like how difficult was it to just bring these people, and how easy was it maybe just to work with these people, some of the challenges you faced, or the chemistry was just smooth?
Well, I have to tell you that Sydney, Daddy Lion, Cornell Marshall, and Rupert didn't play on the album. We had other musicians, but Sydney and Rupert and Daddy Lion was the only brother who actually sang on the album.
Okay.
But these brothers are friends of mine. We live in the city, we're musicians. I mean, if we can't show harmony, who can? So it's always just a phone call away, because it's always love. It's not an issue. Sydney's an incredible human being. Sydney actually mixed the album before pause, called To All My Relations. And whenever you need to do something, these brothers are there. Again, it's love and it's harmony, and it's, if we as Rasta people cannot show people that we can get together when we need to, then who can?
True that, Rasta, true that. Now talking about this album, you've put it's now, you've made it considered, there's a consideration for it to be part of the Grammy 2022. What are you most proud of in this album, and just what is that one thing that's making it unique and stand out that it should be considered for a Grammy?
Well, the thing is, I think our job as musicians is, especially as Rasta musicians, especially as roots Rasta musicians,
okay,
what the intention of the music was to tell the story of the day. If you listen to the old stalwarts, the Wailers, Peter Tosh, Bonnie, Jimmy Cliff, that is what roots music was.
Okay.
It was news. We told the people what was happening. I didn't know about apartheid till Peter Tosh told me about apartheid. And in these dread times, the story of the day has to be told. We can't be singing girls, girls, girls in them times.
True that.
We can't be singing about rims and tires.
True that.
You know what I mean? We can't be singing about, sitting on the beach drinking. And no, this is not the time for this.
Yes,
this is dread and crucial times, and the people have to know that it's dread and crucial times. Because if we as the artists tell the people what the story is, and we teach them and we walk the walk and talk the talk, then everything changes. If I can give you a case in point, when I was growing up, on my school bus in the morning to school in St. Lucia, the songs I heard was Rastaman, Vibration, Positive. I heard Wonderful World, Beautiful People. I heard You Can Make It If You Try. I heard these kinds of songs. So when you hear positive songs, it brings out positive vibrations in you and gives you the right reactions and the right feelings.
True that.
If you get up in the morning and all you hear is, do this to the girl and buck the man in his head and them kind of vibrations, and that's the vibrations you're going to pass your day with. you know. And these times that we live in now call for crucial times for the people to know what time it is and what the story is. And that is why we should be more than anything else.
Okay. So how has the album been performing so far? Which areas has it been much viewed, and just how is the performance of the album so far? And some of the people that would like to give credit for just making sure, I know you've mentioned some, but just those who you have forgotten, whom you want to mention for making this project just come true.
You know, the worst thing in starting to mention names, you always forget a name, and a man always gets screwed.
Yes,
and you didn't mention his name, you know. So the album's doing well. I mean, we're doing interviews in Montenegro, in Slovakia, in Belarus, you know, places we hadn't done interviews before. We're getting out to Poland and all these kinds of places. I mean, we're talking to you, you know. But I'm going to try to remember some of the people, and most crucial people is Ziggy Coltrane, who is instrumental, who's the lifeblood of that album, you know, because a lot of the ideas came through him, and there's a lot of vibing between him and I to get the right sound that we needed to get. A brother called Kwame Eshumu, who used to be a big artist back in the mid-80s, signed to Columbia. He's, you know, he's my go-to man. You know, he's there. A brother called Mark Dan, who played bass. Jonathan played guitar on Crisis.
Okay.
He played with Lionel Richie and John May and Billy Joel and his brothers. He's on the album. Daddy Lion Chandel. You see what I tell you, when I start mentioning names, I can't remember. But yeah.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
So, Taj, now just we've mentioned some of the albums, To All My Relations from beginning 2005, Hope and Doubt, and right now Pose is out. Just talking about how has been the evolution, and what are some of the things that you've been currently reading maybe, or just researching on, just to enable you to grow, understand things much deeper, and just to get more inspiration?
Well, you know, inspiration for me comes from life.
True.
You know, I'm not the kind of brother who needs to sit on a mountaintop to write a song.
Yeah, man.
You know, and I always believe that it's the level of consciousness you bring to the art form. You know, if you're a conscious person, conscious vibes will come to you. You know what I mean? You can't be dealing with pure evil and expect to sing, you know, a positive song. And if you do sing a positive song, it's a pretentious song, and you're not gonna, the energy of the song is not gonna live through you, because that is not who you are. You know? But what I have learned over time is always the simplest thing. And it's always to just love your brother as yourself. That is the greatest lesson I've learned in making all this music. You know, just learn to love your brother as yourself, and everything falls into place.
Okay.
And at times, simplicity can be the most complicated thing. But, you know, that's all it is. You know?
All right. Now, 2 days ago, you just released the second video from this album, Rainstorm. I think the DJ should play it, listen to it, then come back or rather, let's just talk about it, then we'll play it later because of time. Rainstorm is a powerful track, and it just talks about how when everyone is trying to get, maybe you could just tell us before I talk about it, what was the inspiration and just what's the symbolic meaning of Rainstorm when you were just writing this track?
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is even though I spend a lot of time in America, I live in St. Lucia and America, all right? And people tend to talk in ways that work for them.
Okay.
You know, when the pandemic was hitting, people were talking about, you know, sheltering in place. A lot of people can't shelter in place because they don't have the space to shelter in place.
Okay.
A lot of us cannot work from home. There are lots of things a lot of us cannot do because the places we live in are too small. And some of us have to be out on the street because that is our hustle. If we don't do the hustle that we need to do, our families don't eat. You know? So when you make these general statements about shelter in place, it does not apply to everybody.
Okay.
So what we were trying to show is we were showing the alternate point of view.
Okay.
You know, it's funny how, you know, my mother, when I was growing up, would always, and I know lots of Caribbean people, and I'm sure for African people and American people as well, there's always something that is put aside for a rainy day. But the song says, ain't it funny how the rain comes to take and wash away all that I've set aside for a rainy day. And with 2 years of living through a pandemic, it's no longer rain, it's a rainstorm because it's not ending and you don't know when it's going to end, and your back is against the wall and you're struggling. So that was the vibe for Rainstorm. Rainstorm for me encompasses the entire album, because no matter where you live and no matter how great you are, there's always, hopefully, there's something put aside for a rainy day.
All right.
And it's how the rainy day always comes.
All right. So this album, as you have put it out for consideration, how can the people make sure that it's nominated, it's there for the voting?
Yeah, the thing is about this system is it's a popularity contest, which is unfair.
Yeah.
And that the people who win all the time are not always the best people.
Okay.
That's the way it's set up. So I don't want people to think that because a man won a Grammy, he's better than another man who didn't win a Grammy.
Yeah, man.
Grammy is a popularity contest, and that's all it is. It does not say this is, listen,
okay.
Anytime you do art, it's difficult to pick a winner in art. But man ran a race and he win the race because he was first. But when you come to art is subjective.
True.
So I cannot really tell you that my song is better than your song or your song is better than mine, because it all depends on people's tastes and what they like.
True.
So, but what we have to do as artists and what we have to do as DJs is make sure we put the good stuff forward. Because if you keep playing the stuff that is not good, all of a sudden it becomes what represents the genre of the music that we play.
Okay.
If interviews are based on who is fighting with who and who is bleaching their skin, and then people start believing that what reggae music is about.
True that.
So we have to show what the positive things are about the music and make sure we, as the people who are involved in the music, put the best music forward.
All right.
Because not because a man can just go in his basement and make a beat and send something out and start to chant on it, and all of a sudden he's great. That it might be great, but it might not necessarily be so.
All right.
And if we have to try to do is, go easy on the nepotism where we're only looking out for our friend.
All right.
But what is going to teach the people something and change the way? Let me tell you this. If everybody played different and never played Peter Tosh and Bob Marley, you'd have never heard that music.
True that.
So, we as music people, whether we are consumers, producers, or radio DJs, or radio personalities, or interviewers,
okay,
we have to look at the music as a whole and push it forward as a movement, so we can look at how we can help our children and our children's children.
All right. Moving forward. Okay. Moving forward, Taj, you've performed in many places, Europe. You've performed in almost all states in the United States. When should we expect you in Africa for a performance, or maybe in Kenya, East Africa? And in these places that you have performed, which is that one place that is most memorable for you?
I don't have a most memorable place. Simply because I don't play people, I play music.
True.
So wherever we go, we play music. As long as we've done the best job that we came to do, that's the most memorable place. If you want to talk about what happens after we get off the stage and these memories, there are lots of them. But no memory is greater than the other, because every memory counts.
Okay.
Because every memory is what makes us who we are,
True.
Yeah, so yeah, man, I don't have no one place more than the other. But we just played in Ghana, and we will be, this is early news and you're the only person who knows it. We're planning to be in South Africa in early April next year.
Okay.
And we're working our way up. We will try to come down Kenya side on the east, with Zimbabwe and Namibia, and them on the west coast. So yeah, man, the intention is to hit Africa.
All right. I think Kenya should be waiting, and we are waiting. Before I introduce my colleague also to ask a few questions, my last question will be just My last question will be on right now, as you can see that most of the challenges that we are facing in terms of music is that there's modernity in modern instruments and just modernization of sound. And what role does Rastafari plays in your music and just the sound that you put to the people out there?
Well, I mean, the thing is, the basis of the music I play is Rasta music. You know, the basis of the music is to love my brother as myself. The basis of the music is an I and I philosophy. I the physical and I the spiritual is one. The basis of the music is Rastafari. So I tell people that everybody's Rasta because God does not make sin, God makes righteousness. So every man is born in righteousness into a sinful world. He just has to realize who he is. And that's what we're trying to teach people.
Okay.
That all the physical and I the spiritual is one, and that we all are Rasta and we all should move in that direction.
All right. Let me hand over to my colleague to also ask a question, Zaga.
Yes, I can't wait that April when you come. If you're to come to Africa, that will be a good thing. And shout out to your Adoa band. So, my only question I would love to know more about your humanitarian part of work that you do, because you have also been considered as UNICEF children ambassador and all that in St. Lucia. Tell us something about that, kindly.
Well, you see, the way I see Rastafari is we don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. You know, when I was growing up and my brother MPLA and my other brothers were Rastas, it was about community. I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. It is my job to do what I can, you know, to help. Because, you know what I mean? The Bible say, if you consider the least of us, then you've considered God. You know, so that is the only way I see it, that if you have more than you have been given, if you have more than your share, then you have to give something back. You know, because I only need one car, you know, I don't need 5. You know?
All right.
So if I have enough, then I need to give my brother. That means I've been given more than I need. And what I need to do with it is give back. There's a word called affluence.
Yeah, thank you.
Affluence from a French word mean a flow, to let it flow. The only way you can get more is if you let what you've been given pass through. Because if you hold it back, you're clogging up the system, you know. You have to let it pass so the water keeps running. As long as you start trying to hold everything for yourself, you're throwing off everything else. So what we try to do is to give back, and we've formed this organization called TOCO, the Orphan Cry Outreach. And what we try to do, well, I don't say what we try to do, what we are doing is we take care of underprivileged and at-risk children everywhere in the world. So we start off in St. Lucia because that's where I was, and because charity begins at home. But we've gone to St. Vincent, Grenada, Dominica, Trinidad. We were just in Ghana. I brought 5,000 pairs of shoes with me to give to the kids in Accra. You know, we've sent down thousands, I think 20,000 pounds of food was our last shipment of food to St. Lucia. And for some people, 20,000 pounds mightn't sound like a lot, but we only have a population of 180,000 people. You know, I send down 200 tablets to help the kids with remote learning. And we've always been doing, we've been doing from ever since. And when we started doing, UNICEF saw what we were doing and made me the UNICEF ambassador. And I think 2 years ago, the government of St. Lucia gave me a diplomatic passport and made me the ambassador.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been doing the works, man. So we've been doing the works everywhere we can.
True to that. That's a noble cause. I really thank you for doing that. May you keep expanding. Back to Shem, Rastaman.
Yeah, Taj, before I give it to my DJ, and you've been working with children for quite a long time, and what do you think is the role of the children right now, and what is the role that they should be playing, or what's the role that they should just impact in terms of making sure that the future is much better, so that in future when the crisis come, we are much better and ready?
Well, I don't think we have to look at the children. I think we have to look at the parents. I think the children's only job is to have fun. You know, if you have a true childhood where you get to run around and have fun, then you don't get caught up with all them, you know, all that weight of trying to figure things out. Children shouldn't have to figure out the light bill and the rent. You know, children should just have fun. What we have to look at is the grown-ups. Because as the grown-ups are the ones who make the rules. These are the people who need to revisit. There's a line in a song where I say, we need to seek the spaces in our thought to unlearn what we've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
The grown-ups have to do that. They have to spend some time washing their brains of the brainwash that they've been given so they can learn how to better deal with their children.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it's not their fault, that's what they've been taught too. So, the grown-ups have to take a stand and try to do it. And we as the people who know the right from wrong, because not everybody know it, we have to teach the children too. That's why I think it's important as people in the arts that we lay the messages out so the kids can understand right from wrong and know the way forward.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe when artists tell me it's not their responsibility. Yeah, man, it's your responsibility. You've been given a platform.
Mm-hmm.
It is your responsibility.
I tell you.
Because the funny thing is, all them artists who tell you it's not their responsibility, they don't want their children to hear what they're saying, when it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to take on the responsibility of teaching the children. It's our job to help the next generation see right from wrong.
I tell you. As you always say, let the vibes be high and the message be mighty. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Sweet K, DJ, maybe we could have a question from the DJ.
Yes, a lot of people watching the show right now. How can they follow you maybe on your social media handles, and asking for other DJs to, apart from the normal YouTube, how can we access your music on other platforms?
No, man, we're everywhere, everywhere. And if you want our music and you want to play, you just have to write us and we'll send it to you. Because the intention is to make it reach all corners of the earth. So if a man wants it, he can have it.
Yes, man. So as we wrap it up, Taj, what should people expect now that the pause is out? What should be the next expectation? What have you put in the pipeline people to expect maybe in 2022? And as we finish, what is that one fun fact people don't know about Taj?
Sometimes I like when they don't know some things, which is good because, the way social media is, everybody know what you had for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So we would like them not to know some things, it'd be nice if there's a little bit of mystery left somewhere, Social media is a difficult thing for me, because I started making music for music, not to be a star,
mm-hmm.
not to show every 5 minutes to take a selfie.
Mm-hmm.
I find that a bit overwhelming. I mean, how many pictures of me do you need to see?
Yeah.
I think we need to listen to what it is we're saying, not to just because, we can, plenty of people who take plenty of pictures but don't say anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see, fun fact, I am the last of 10 children.
Wow, great.
Yeah. And when I grew up as a little boy, what I used to do at night was my father to have the last four of us line up in the living room and sing to him.
Wow.
And that's how I started doing music, singing to my parents in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
And then my father would get up at the end of the night and he would sing to us.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, that's a fact. Fun fact. What was the other part of the question you asked?
The other part was, now that pause is out and it's out there, people should consider it for Grammy, as you have talked about it, and listen to the whole album. I've listened to the album. Is strong message, strong inspiration. What should people look forward to?
More music.
Mm-hmm.
The music never stops. The next two albums are already written.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just tightening it up and getting it together. More music. We're going to be out in Africa next year, moving around, doing things. We're back in Ghana in March, because we're coming to do some humanitarian work out there. Listen, we want to be everywhere in Africa. We want to do as much humanitarian work as we can, because we know, and I know you brothers know that too, reggae talks a lot about Africa.
True.
But we need to make a real connection with Africa.
True that.
When I went to Ghana, I could not have gone to Ghana empty-handed. So I came bringing gifts. That's how I grew up. My mother said, when you go into somebody's house, you bring something to them.
Well,
so I brought 5,000 pairs of shoes with me. When you invite me to Ghana, I will bring some gifts as well, man.
Yes, man. Well, I appreciate that. Great cause, great work. It's always good to be philanthropic, humanitarian, the kind of work you're doing. I'm looking forward to see you in Africa, in Kenya specific, Nairobi. We'll be glad also to just contribute and make an impact to the community. And also when the projects are out, we're looking forward to having them right here at the show. Thank you so much, Taj.
No, man, thank you so much. I say to people all the time, you know, if I make music and you don't play it and we don't talk, the people don't know about it. So my thanks goes out to you and your audience as well. And in parting, like we always say, to you and everybody else, let your vibes be high and let your message be forever.